Welcome to this week's episode of Married and Broke. I'm Mitchell,
And I'm Emma.
and this week we are ranking the top 10 side hustles, and we're going to decide if they are cash.
Or trash. All right, so side hustles. That's what we're talking about today.
We've had a lot of side hustles, and we thought it would be a great thing to talk about this week because whenever you want more money, what's the easiest way to do it? Just add more jobs.
And with how expensive life is lately, and, I feel like everybody needs a side hustle these days to make enough money to afford groceries and,
It's an
make a living.
unfortunate reality that in 2024, as a millennial adult with no kids, we still can't barely afford to live.
Yes. So side hustles are a way to not only make extra money and give you a little bit of that financial security, but it can also be a way to pursue hobbies or other things that you're interested as well. It just kind of depends on the side hustle. So we thought it'd be good to talk about the top side hustles, and then we're gonna rate them.
So we're going to go through this list of the top 10 side hustles, and we're going to rate them on 4 categories to decide if they are cash
Or trash.
So we are going to rate them on the time investment that you have to put into the side hustle, the amount of effort it takes to do the side hustle, the upfront investment cost that you have to contribute to the side hustle, and also the profitability, because that's really what we're all about.
Making the money.
Making that dough.
So before we get into that and get into rating the top 10, can we just define side hustle a little bit? So when we're talking about side hustles, what are we talking about? Let's define it.
Yes. What are we talking about, Emma?
So I feel like side hustle is something that you can do in addition to another job, to like your 9 to 5.
Right. This is not just starting a business. It is starting a business, but this is not your full-time adventure starting a business. You are taking this on in addition to your full-time day job or night job if you're working nights, but it's just another source of income. It's not a full-time commitment. It might feel like it sometimes, but it is something that's just supplementing your income.
Yeah, a way to help you diversify, to maybe have multiple sources of income, and just to give you that little bit of, financial security, having that additional money coming in.
Because here's the hard reality that you have to realize when you're a 9 to 5 worker for a large company or a small company or wherever you're working. If you are working for someone else, a lot of times people think that they have the most secure job in the world. And what happens to those people, Emma?
They get fired. They get let go. Things happen.
What happens when there's a recession? Oh, whoops, we have to lay off 300 employees. And you've been here for 20 years? Oh, well, bye-bye.
Yeah, so there's no real security in any job, whether it's something you're pursuing on your own or you're working for someone else. You're never 100% secure. So side hustles can give you that it just helps you diversify that income and get you those multiple streams.
It's always good to not put all of your eggs in one basket. I just think it's a great way to, if you're in a situation where you're working a job and you don't know what you want to do, and you don't know if you have your life passion yet, and you don't always have to be passionate about your work, and it can just be a job, and that's perfectly fine. But it's the millennial in me that I want to do something that I actually enjoy and love, and that we are all raised being told that. So being able to kind of test these jobs, it's kind of like doing an internship when you start a side hustle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way to explore yourself and to explore your interests and to just see how you can make money doing things that you love to do or like to do. Although I do think there are some side hustles that can just be another source of income and don't necessarily need to be aligned with a passion or a skill as well. But we'll talk about those.
I agree. I don't think you always need to make a side hustle be a passion. And, it can be something that is just put in some time, make some quick money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, if you're someone or you're a couple that is just having a hard time like saving up that money, or you're just, like us and every single month you're like just getting by, or you're just saving just a little bit, but it's not enough fast enough, adding a side hustle could be a good option for you.
So we're going to rate each of these side hustles on their time investment that you have to put into the side hustle, the amount of effort you have to put into the side hustle, the initial investment that you have to put into the side hustle to be able to do the side hustle, and the profitability of the side hustle. And we're going to rate each of these based on like high and low and medium. So if it's a lot of time investment, it's a high time investment. If it's, barely any time investment, it's low. And so on and so forth. So that's how we're going to rate each of these side hustles.
And then from that, at the end, we'll decide if we think it's cash or trash.
Perfect. All right, let's do it. Yeah. So let's start with the first side hustle on our list, and that is freelancing.
So kind of a wider topic. This one's a little more broad. There's a lot of things that you can freelance.
We could have broken this down into like a million other side hustles within freelancing, but freelancing in general kind of just encompasses you are you are essentially working for someone else as maybe a contractor, someone hired you to do a job. That's freelancing. Whether that's freelancing on something like Fiverr or Upwork, if you have like design or art skills where you can do things through Fiverr, graphic design, video editing, photo stuff. Um, that's that type of freelancer. There's also going out and doing things, as a freelancer. Like, what do you think of when you think of a freelancer?
I feel like I think of like if someone were to go start a freelance business of like mowing lawns, but does that count as a freelance business, or is that something totally different?
I think freelancers usually means that you're kind of working for someone else. It's sort of like they're commissioning you to do work for them. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
that makes sense.
So, I mean, I have a huge history of freelancing so far because I'm a videographer on the side. No, that's my main gig. I'm a videographer. And so I've started freelancing where, again, a video company will hire me to go out and do a shoot. And I get billed hourly. I have an hourly rate for my freelance work and they pay me.
Right.
So,
So like freelance writing is another thing, like content writing for things. You can kind of freelance out your writing skills in that sense.
yeah. So I think this this side hustle is a good side hustle if you have some sort of skill that you can sell your time for doing or a project for. Doesn't always have to be based on the time you put in. It can also just be on like the project. It can be sometimes if you're really into it, you can get retainer clients so that they pay you a monthly retainer, something like 1,000, 2,000 bucks, whatever it is, and then you can have multiple clients that are on retainer, and then you just have this kind of, it's not passive income stream, but it's a consistent income stream, and you're
Yep.
just doing, you might, like in my case, it's like, oh, we'll make you like 3 or 4 videos every month, and they'll pay us, X amount of money every month.
Yeah, and depending on your skill that you're able to freelance, that could be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of really in demand, high paying freelance careers that you can do out there. And again, this it's fairly easy to balance on the side of a full-time job because you can set your own hours, you can take on as much work as you want, you can decline any work that you don't want to do that might be too much. So you can work it around your schedule and, find one that could work with you. Like freelance copywriting or whatever, that would be like really easy to do at night,
Yeah, do like at night after work,
on
do
the
it on the
weekends.
weekend.
If you're doing photography, freelance photography, you could do that on the weekends, at night, go out and do shoots with people.
So, how would you rate freelance on time?
So for the time it would take to get started to consistently be able to do freelance, I would say this one is definitely in medium to high because if not closer to high, because you have to have learned a skill that you can monetize. If you
Or
don't,
have a skill?
right. But I'm saying to have a skill, you have to have put in a lot of time to be able to have something that people would be willing to pay for.
Yeah. And it's not something that I think you just instantaneously start making money. It takes a lot of investment of finding clients and getting yourself out there and having people find you and, you know,
You have to do a lot of setup. You
yeah.
have to build a website. You have to build a portfolio in most cases. So if you don't already have those things, it's going to be a rather high time investment.
Yeah, I agree. So I would say high investment for freelance.
Absolutely. And then what do you think about effort?
For effort, I would say medium to high.
Yeah, I would even go high for effort as well, because you, in most cases, you have to spend all your time doing the work. You know, sometimes
Mhm.
you can outsource some of the freelance work if you get a little more established and you make that kind of business system going for your side hustle while you're freelancing. But I think most cases you're going to be spending your time and effort to do the work that you bring in for your client. So there's a really high amount of effort you got to put into that.
Yeah. So I feel like with freelancing, it needs to almost be something that you really do have to want to do. I don't think freelance is something you just do to make a little extra money. I think there has to be something in it that you love because it is going to take so much time and effort.
Yeah. And I don't think, like, you have to want to do, like, you have to enjoy the whatever niche of freelancing you like, whether it's, taking photos or doing graphic design or writing. You have to really love those things because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing it. And if you don't like it, it's not going to last very long. And then I would say for investment, this one's kind of like,
It depends. It depends on what
it
you're
really
freelancing.
depends because, again, if you're just copywriting, all you need is a laptop, which you probably already have, or you can, go to a library and use a computer to do it if you needed to. So, but if it's something like, again, in my case with videography, you need like a crap ton of gear, and that takes a lot of investment. You can start off cheaply and work your way up, which is what I would recommend you do. But yeah, it would be a large investment. So it's kind of
This one's hard to rate because it could go either way and it just depends on what you're freelancing.
so we'll call this one medium,
I
just
like
to
it.
be a perfect middle ground because it can go either way.
Great.
And then profitability for freelancing.
I feel like freelancing, there's a lot of opportunity to make a decent amount of money in it. Wouldn't you agree?
There is. If you can get the right clients in the right field, you can make a good, steady stream of income from it. So I would say that there is a high profitability. I would say somewhere between medium high, but more on the high end, especially once you get established. It'll be a slow growth getting there in
Yes,
most cases. So that's kind of where that time investment comes into, because you have to put a lot of time and effort into it. But I do think if you do that and you commit to it and you stick with it, there is a rather high profitability. And it has a good chance of being able to become a full-time gig if you wanted to do that.
exactly. If that's something you're interested in, the chances of making this a full-time thing could also be high as well. So
What do you think, Emma? Is it cash or is it trash?
I'm going to say cash.
I think it's cash too, because there's so many options with freelancing. And again, we probably made this a little bit too broad of a category, but I think that's okay. I would say freelancing is something that you can do on your own terms and make it suit your lifestyle, which is a really good thing. And it's something that you can do with your partner.
Yeah. Speaking of married and couples and things.
Yeah, we're married. This is a married show.
Yeah. Like that's something you could do with somebody. You can do it on your own. I agree. I mean, I think you can, like, yes, I think the idea of freelance is very broad, but yeah, like it's
There's so
just,
many
there's so many
options for you to be
options.
able to bring in your partner if you guys want to start a business together. Like, why not? It'd be a great way to spend some time together. You can build something together. It can be, a fun way to make a little extra money.
And if you're someone who already has a skill and, something that you're passionate about
Why,
or just
why
something you're
not
good at,
monetize
why
that on
not?
the
Yeah,
side?
exactly.
So you heard it here first, folks. Freelancing is
Cash.
cash.
All right. Next is food delivery or being a grocery shopper.
Like an on-demand grocery shopper. Let's think about Uber Eats. Instacart. I would also throw in just like driving people
Like
around,
Uber.
doing Uber, doing DoorDash, doing
Yeah, any kind
Lyft.
of, yeah.
So this one is where you really are giving up your time for money because
Yes.
you cannot do this without being there. You know what I mean? You have to physically go and do stuff.
Yeah, so this is not passive.
This is absolutely the farthest end you can get from
Passive
passive
income.
income from a side hustle. So this would be you'd have to go nights and weekends whenever people are hungry. You got to go out there and you got to sit in your car and wait for hopefully people to order food and stuff, and then you have to do good service. You're in the service industry because you are
Yeah.
delivering. So
I do think it still offers flexibility. So in terms of doing it on the side of something else, I think this is a okay option because again, if you have a job and maybe you have certain days that you don't work, or again, like on the weekends
mhm.
or at night, it's something that you can pretty much do anytime.
As long as you have a car, this is something that you can get right into. So I would rate the time for food delivery to get set up and started as really low because you as long as you have a car already, you can sign up for the app. Once you get approved, you can start doing the work.
And yeah, and once you do the job, you're already getting money once you do it.
Yeah, it comes pretty quick. So I would definitely say this one's low as long as you again have a car and you can just start. You can just do this weekend if you needed to. You can sign up and start making some money. So then effort. How would you rate effort?
I don't know, it's hard. I feel like I'm trying to imagine if I did it. I haven't had any experience doing this type of thing, but I feel like it's probably fairly low effort, other than the fact that, again, it's just taking your time. So you're
I
not going
would
to
call it
be,
medium effort because
yeah,
you have to directly, your time is directly proportionate to making money. You're
right.
not going to be able to make money passively at all.
Right. So it's, and, you're not going out with your friends. You're not sitting at home playing video games or watching TV or relaxing. Like you're using that extra time you have to go out and deliver food or do Uber or whatever it is.
Yeah. But it's also not
But it's
like,
not hard
it's not
work.
hard. It's like, it's other than the fact that you're giving up a lot of your time, it's not necessarily hard work unless you're like a bike messenger delivery person. Like
Right.
that's kind of taxing and hard work. But in most cases, you're doing it in a car in a city. And so I would call that medium effort. Now, investment, this one is a little bit tricky and a little bit deceptive because in most cases, you might have a car. So you would think it would be a low investment, but I would call it medium investment because this is going to put a lot of wear and tear on your car. So you're going to have to do a lot more maintenance on your car. And so I would kind of say it's a medium investment.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you have to pay for gas to drive it around.
Right. You got to pay for gas. You got to, again, if you don't have a car, you have to save up for a car. So
Yeah.
I would kind of put that in the medium category.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then profitability.
I mean, unless you are like really like out there doing a ton of deliveries, I feel like this has got to be just that a little bit low
Yeah. I
profitability.
think in most cases, it's going to be low with knowing how much time and effort you're going to put into doing it to get the money. Now, I do think that if you are in the right city that has a lot of, lunch orders and things like that, you can make a good amount of money from it. But for the other 90% of the people that are doing this in most medium to like small cities and
It's
places,
going to be low.
it's going to be low. Like I do know someone that did this and they were only able to do maybe in a week you'd make like $200, which is a good little bit amount of a side hustle, income. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not going to be, unless you put a lot of time into it, it's not
Which,
going to be able to
yeah,
replace like a full-time job.
which then at that point, with the amount of time you put into it, is it really worth it? You know?
Right. Once you account for all the taxes that have come out, the maintenance, the gas, like I feel like your profit margin here is going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
Although this is something you can do with your partner because you could ride around and do deliveries together. If you
It's
wanted to
true.
just spend some time hanging out, listen to music in the car, you could spend some good quality time doing that.
Yeah. So I think,
You could monetize your
yeah,
dates. Think about that.
monetize your dates. Um, so yeah, what would you say? Cash or trash?
I'm leaning towards this is hard. It depends on the person. I think if you're in desperate need of work and you don't know what else to do and you have a car, this can be pretty cash because it can get you by. But I think for most people that are just looking for extra money or,
Yeah, I would say that's what
it's
I
a
was
little
gonna say too.
trash.
Yeah, I was leaning toward trash, but the same thought. If you're someone who like is in a pickle and you just need to like make money, this is again such a low investment and like effort to get it started. Like you can start making money now. So like if you need that money, this is something you can easily jump into.
Yeah.
If you're desperate for money, you're not going to start some freelance company because it takes a long time to start
Yeah.
making that money.
If you need a quick little bit to get you through the month or whatever it is, this one's very cash, but in a lot of situations, I think it's trash.
I would say trash.
No offense, Uber.
Yes.
So next side hustle we have on the list is online teaching and tutoring. So this would be probably a remote job in most cases because it's online. Or I mean, you could do tutoring in person, but in most cases, you're going to find a company that's hiring remote online, tutors and teachers.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of websites out there, right? That you can kind of like
I think it's
get a foot
becoming
in.
more
Yeah.
popular. And this is something where, yeah, I think you would need to have, in most cases with these, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree from a college. So that's kind of like the barrier to entry into that one. So if you have that, this could be a good option for you, maybe.
Yeah.
Or an option.
So let's go ahead and start rating it. What about time?
So this would be the time to get started into it. I'm going to call this one medium because this is a side hustle that you would have to get hired for. It's not one you can just start on your own.
Yeah.
So it could be a quick process, but it also would take some time to do some job hunting to find the place and to, get your resume right and do the interview process. So I'd call it medium,
Yeah.
medium
agree.
low, maybe.
Yeah. Medium.
So I'd call that one medium. And then in terms of effort, what would you say for effort for this one?
Again, this is one where I feel like, again, this is not passive income here. So you are having to like be there and be with, the people that you're tutoring or,
Yeah, your
online
time
teaching.
is directly proportionate to the money you make on this one.
Yeah.
In most cases, you're working hourly. So I would call it medium effort, medium high, maybe. Probably more medium because if you are tutoring this, you probably are really comfortable with the subject you're tutoring, hopefully. Because you, again, would need to have a degree. So I feel like you'd be pretty comfortable with whatever you're tutoring there.
Yeah. So I'd say medium.
Yeah, I would say medium too. And then in terms of investment, I think this one would be a low investment because, again, if you already have a computer, that's pretty much all you usually need is like a computer and a headset. So in the grand scheme of things, that can be a pretty low investment.
Yeah. I would say, especially compared to other different side hustles and things, what you need to get started is probably pretty low in comparison. So I'm going to go low.
I think so too. And then how do you feel about profitability for online teaching and tutoring?
Medium?
Yeah, I think it would be medium to low because in most cases, and like I've looked for jobs like this before, and in most cases, they're paying pretty close to minimum wage. So the only real perk you're getting in terms of profitability is the fact that you're remote and can work
Yeah.
from home, it can be a perk.
It's a perk. Yeah.
So if you wanted, and again, because you can do this at night or kind of around your schedule, that's kind of the nice part with the profitability. But I don't think you're going to be making bank on this one.
Yeah. I would agree.
I think it could be a good part-time job and it could probably give you a good like $400 to $600 a month. I would bet. But yeah, I don't think you're going to be racking it in
With online teaching.
Yeah. So with that being said, what do you think, Emma? Cash or trash? I'm going to go with trash. Hot take. I'm saying trash.
Hot take.
Yes, because I think these jobs are a little bit idealistic. I think you're not going to enjoy doing it just because it's going to be a little bit mind numbing, unless you're the right person for it, obviously. But at least for me, this would be trash because I would have to spend a good amount of time to make a low amount of money. And yes, it's a low investment. And yes, it's a medium time to get started. But I think in the long run, it's going to be something it's going to feel like a job. That's what I think it's going to be like.
Yeah. And I feel like after a while, especially if you're doing this like in addition to another job, it's probably going to feel like a lot.
I think so too. So that's why I am labeling this one as trash.
All right. Next one, pet sitting or dog walking.
Ooh, playing with pups.
See, this one, I feel like I love the idea of it because I mean, again, if you love dogs and you want to, walk dogs, play with dogs, go for walks, hang out with dogs,
Who doesn't love dogs?
like it sounds great. But I'm interested to see once we rate it if it actually is something that would make a decent amount of money.
So in terms of time investment for pet sitting and dog walking, I think this one would be a low time investment to get started doing it because all you have to do is download the app. It'll ask you to apply to be they'll do a little kind of a background check on you. And once that happens within a day or two, you are up and running.
Yeah.
And you just have to, request to do jobs that you think you would fit.
Yeah. Or if you don't do it through an app, put up a flyer, phone number.
Old school.
Old school.
Get out on that corner and put up some papers on the light posts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. I would say it's probably pretty low time because it's something you can probably get going pretty quick.
Yeah. And then in terms of effort, do you think it would be a lot of effort to pet sit and walk dogs?
I want to say no because the thought of just like going on walks and like hanging out with pets sounds not that hard to me, but that's because I like that. So I do think it is some effort, especially if you have to do a lot of dogs at once. You always the like, stereotypical like dog walker with like the 20 different dogs on the leashes and things. But I don't know. I still feel like it would be probably low effort.
Yeah, I would say low too, because really you're not necessarily like in most cases doing hard work to watch a dog. You just have to either go check on a dog, play with it for an hour, take it for a walk. That's fairly low effort in my book.
And if you love dogs, then like
That's like hardly any effort at
then
all.
it's not work. It's just fun.
Right. So yeah, I would say low effort.
Yeah.
And then for investment, I mean,
That's low investment.
low investment. You just have to download an app on your phone, which everyone has a phone. So that's already done. And then, yeah, you just show up and do the work. You usually just have to use the leash and the poop bags and all that stuff that the owner already has.
Right. So here's the interesting thing that I'm interested to chat about is the profitability of it, because I feel like I'm mixed on this one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was thinking about this where it's like, I feel like the prime times when people need a pet sitter would be during work hours. So if you're trying to do this in addition to a job, I'm just wondering if that's a little bit trickier and might not be as profitable then.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the person. Because if, let's say, it's someone who is working in the service industry, so they're working nights and weekends, then they could do this in the day. They could during normal work hours, they could be out there taking care of people's dogs and stuff like that. And a lot of times this is for like, if people are going out of town and they can't, take their dog with them, or if they're going on a date night or something like that. You're going in and checking at like nighttime,
But I also wonder how many people that are working like 9-to-5 jobs that need someone consistent throughout the week to basically watch their dog when they're gone at work.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know.
So
if you have any experience with that, let us know in the comments because we are interested in knowing how that works.
Yeah, I'd be curious about that because I feel like the prime time to make all that money is during the day. But if, again, we're talking about this as a side hustle, not as like you doing this as like a full-time dog walker job. I feel like you might miss out on those profitable times when people really need a dog sitter.
Yeah. And then in terms of profitability, I'm going to give this one low because you're not going to be making that much money every time you do this. It's probably going to be like 15 bucks, 30 bucks.
Unless you find some really wealthy family with some,
Yeah,
ritzy
you
dogs.
get the right suburbs, and then it could probably be
Yeah.
profitable.
But otherwise, I'd say it's probably pretty low.
Yeah. This would be a true side gig, in my opinion, unless you're the most like dedicated dog walker in the world.
Yeah. So, as much as I don't want to say this, I feel like as a side hustle, again, not as like if you wanted to like really gung ho be a dog walker, dog sitter, I would say cash. But just as a side hustle, I'm going to say trash.
I'm going to disagree with you and say that this one is cash because it's something you can do, get started quickly. You can do it for fairly low effort and there's no real investment. So, yes, it's not going to make you the most money, but it's going to pay for your going out money once a week, maybe. You know what I mean? So,
That's true.
I think it could be cash, but your opinion is valid. So, it can also be trash.
Well, your opinion is also valid. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
so there.
All right. So, our next one on the list is buying and reselling.
So, this is one I have a little bit of experience with because I, for a little bit, did buying and reselling with thrifted clothes and doing that on Poshmark for a while. So, a little bit of experience with this. But this could be all kinds of things. This could be someone who flips. So, maybe it's like furniture that you flip and stuff. There's lots of ways to do it. Obviously, you can just do it on like Facebook Marketplace or on like Etsy or like on Poshmark, like how I did. So lots of ways to do it.
To clarify this one, we're considering this one actually physically buying stuff and then selling it. It's not
Correct.
e-commerce. That's one that's on our list later. But so you have to hold the inventory.
Yes.
So it's not drop shipping or things like that where you can just buy it and then resell it.
Yes.
This is physically buying and reselling things.
And it's also not something that like you've created. You maybe have like flipped it, maybe, but this is like a product that you've gone out and found and you're reselling.
Yeah, you could maybe upcycle it or, restore something. But this is, just to clarify, because that can be confusing because there's a lot of things you do that are buying and selling stuff. So this one, how would we call it with time investment to get started?
I think this one's tricky. I would say medium.
I would agree with you. I was going to say medium too, because you have to find stuff that works to be bought and resold that will make you money. It
Mhm.
also takes a long time to get the process down and to build enough steam to really make it profitable.
To build up an inventory too sometimes. Like that was my experience with clothes, buying and reselling clothes was, I could do like little bits at a time, but if you really want to make money, you have to have a decent amount of inventory built up to do that.
Right. And you also have to establish yourself on the platforms that you're selling on.
Yeah.
And get some reviews and things like that. So there's that kind of time that it takes to do that.
Yeah. But I would say compared to like freelancing, this isn't as much time investment as that because you still can like get it going pretty quick. It's just not going to be instantaneous, like, going out and doing food delivery. It's still going to take a little bit of time.
Right.
So medium.
Yeah. Let's say medium. And then in terms of effort, I would also maybe call this one medium.
I would say medium.
Because you have to spend a good amount of effort to go out and shop and find stuff or to scour online for people getting rid of things that you can buy from them.
Yeah. And if you're like flipping or upcycling, then there's even more effort involved there. But if you're just kind of finding something, turning around and reselling it, it's kind of a medium effort. You still have to source the things. It's not just something that kind of falls in your lap. So I would say medium.
I agree. And then in terms of investment, you're going to need some cash to get started on this one to buy some stuff.
Yep.
Now, do you want to explain what you did to do that?
Yeah. So I started buying and reselling clothes on Poshmark as a way to fund my shopping. It was a little bit of an experiment. It actually worked pretty well, I would say.
Yeah, when you had it going
Yeah.
good, you were able to consistently bring in, you know, 100, couple $100, and then you would use that to buy more stuff to resell.
Yeah. So this started with, I'd have clothes in my own wardrobe that I wanted to get rid of. And so I was able to kind of use things I already had and bought. But I also just really enjoyed going out and thrifting. And so this was a way for me to go out and do that, but then not just sort of accumulate. I was able to go thrift and then turn around and sell it and make money off of it. And then I used that money to fund my own wardrobe. And so when I wanted to go shopping, it was kind of that guilt-free money.
You're right. So this is kind of a nice one in terms of effort because you can do it at your own pace, which is kind of fun. It's like when you want to go out and shop and find stuff to buy, you can do it. And when you don't have to. It's not like you have anyone relying on you to do this.
Exactly. This is all just on your own time. Yeah.
But again, you do have to invest the money to buy whatever it is. So if you're doing high ticket items, you're going to have to pay a good chunk of money to do that. So I think for investment wise, I would call this medium as well.
Medium.
We're almost at medium across the board
This
here.
might be
Emma.
medium across the board.
Profitability.
I'm going to say medium.
Really?
I mean, there's a chance that it can be pretty high. I mean, when I was digging into this buying and reselling of clothes, like there's people out there who do this as a full-time job and make a decent amount of money. But I mean, compared to some of these other ones, I don't think it's like quite as high, but you can make a decent living off of it if you really bought a lot of stuff. My problem where I ran into a wall with it was that I didn't have enough space in our apartment to store the amount of clothing that I would need to actually make a lot of money.
Right. So that's kind of the trick with this one is finding the right niche or category of product that has a good enough return on the investment, you know, enough profitability when you sell it that it's worth storing it and having it for, you know, that's the one thing with maybe in investments that we didn't touch on is that if you don't sell it right away, you have it until it's sold. So it's going to take up space. And then if it ends up not selling, you either have to keep it and keep it somewhere or you have to get rid of it and then you lose out. So there's a little bit of risk in this one. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to be the most profitable. So that's why I think it's a good medium.
Yeah.
But in terms of cash or trash, I want to call this one cash because this is
agree.
a nice one. You can do at your own pace. Again, it's at your own, you know, however intensely you want to do it. It's your choice.
And it's easy to do in downtime. Like this is a really easy thing to do on the weekend.
Hit up Goodwill, find some furniture to like upcycle.
Yeah. And you're not like, once you like put it out wherever you're selling it, you know, if it's like on Poshmark or it's on Etsy, like it's out there and people are, you know, gonna find it. And, you know, maybe a month later, someone finally buys it, but you're not having to sit and
You're right.
do any work
Once you
with
put
it while
in
it's
your initial time and effort to get it, maybe upcycle it and list it, at that point, it kind of becomes passive until it sells. And then you have to ship it or, you know, get it to the person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is definitely a cash.
It's cash. And this is one that if we ever have a house and if we ever have space to be able to store things, I would totally do this one again because I loved buying and reselling clothes, especially as a way to fund my own shopping habits because again, it made it really like guilt-free. It's something that I love to do anyway. Like I love to go out and thrift, you know, even if I wasn't making money off of it. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, yeah, why not turn around and sell it and actually make money off of it?
Right. This was a good one for you to align a little bit of your passion with your side hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next one on our list is content creation. So this is making stuff for the internet for other people to consume, whether it's blogging, vlogging, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, any of those things where you're kind of making something, putting it on internet, other people are watching it, and then you become monetized and make some money back from it.
Yeah. This is one we have also tried to do for many years.
You can't tell. right here, right now. Can you tell what we're doing? This is a side hustle called
Side
content
hustle.
creation.
Yeah.
So, this one, in terms of time investment to get started,
High.
this one is real high. It takes a lot of time to get started doing content creation. And when I say that, I mean for the first time. Like we each have had a couple goes at doing content creation online, and this is one of our third or fourth goes at it with this podcast. So, you know, to get to a point where, I'm not trying to like say we're good at it now, but like, to a point where it's decent, you can be consistent. It can take a lot of time to get to that if it's not inherently a skill that you have.
Yeah, just the like physically doing it, you have to get used to talking on camera if that's part of the content creation. But also just the barriers to get monetized are things that you have to get past.
Yeah, there's people who've been doing it for 2, 3 years before they get, like on YouTube, they're getting monetized. So if it's something that doesn't quite take off right away, you're going to be doing this a long time before you're making any money from it.
Yeah. So this one I would say is high for time.
Yeah. And then in effort, right along with that, like that's also high in
High.
effort.
And this was one of the reasons why I think I had a hard time with it because it is a lot of effort to like film the videos and edit the videos and come up with the ideas for the videos and to keep it consistent. Like you're
Especially
putting
if
in a lot of
you're
effort.
especially if you're trying to do something weekly, more than once a week with videos, like it takes a lot of time and effort to do it.
Right. And like with the quality of them too, like I mean, I think there's some with some content, you can shoot with your iPhone, do basic editing, and it's still going to work just fine. I do think that lately the barrier has gotten a little bit lower to where more people can do it because you
With
can,
more short form content, it's a lot easier to just do on your phone really
yeah,
quickly. So there is a lower barrier entry.
right. But if you want to make
Um,
like a quality video, that takes skill, that takes time, and it takes a lot of effort.
and let's be honest, the most profitable way to do this is to do YouTube because they have the best platform and monetization
Yeah.
way of, doing the content creation, where, to do the one that makes the most money, it's a lot of effort and a lot of time to get there.
Yeah. So high,
Now, in terms of investment, I would call this one medium,
medium.
because if you have a phone and you're okay with the quality of the phone for your content that you're creating, you're good to go. If you want to up the quality and, make it really nice, you're going to need to invest in some equipment, some lighting, some cameras,
Yeah.
learn how to use that all. So there's a decent investment that
Yeah.
can go into it.
But with how nice phone cameras are nowadays, like you could just easily film on your phone. And again, especially with like short form content and things like that, that's just easy on your phone on the platform
Yeah.
and do that. So
So
yeah, I
I'd
would
call
agree
that
medium.
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 And then in profitability, I want to call this high, but I also think it should be medium for most people. But
Yeah, because I think this one's deceiving because there is a possibility that you could make a ton of money off content creation.
if you hit the right niche, you do good enough quality content and it hits the algorithm out there just right,
You can make a ton of
you
money.
can make a ton of money.
But how many people
But
will do that?
it's gonna take a high time investment. It's gonna take a ton of effort. And at that point, to get that, you're gonna have to invest a lot in most cases to get that high reward.
Yeah.
But if it's something you enjoy doing and you can figure out ways to do it with that lower the effort and the time commitment, whether that's, a lot of people will like batch script their videos and then they'll batch film them all in one day and then you have your month's worth of content already done.
Hmm.
So there are ways to lower that time, that effort
Yeah.
portion of this, but figuring that out again is a large time
Yeah.
commitment.
But I do think there's a, you know, a chance for large profitability here compared to any other side hustle.
Right. It's one that I feel like content creation is like the American dream for most like millennials and Gen Zers.
Yeah, like they see somebody working for themselves, just putting themselves on the internet, film videos, and making more money than you can even make at a job.
Yeah. And the thing that people don't realize with content creation, like let's say, for instance, on YouTube, you can make basically a full income with not a huge amount of subscribers if you monetize it right.
Yeah.
Because you can do brand deals, you can have affiliate links where you're linking products and getting a commission. You can, get your AdSense, you can create products for them. There's just a whole like suite of things you can do within your brand to monetize it
Yeah.
where, you don't have to be necessarily, a
A
million
mega
subscriber,
YouTuber.
mega YouTuber to make a lot of money. You can do it with a
Mhm.
small, strategic plan to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call this one, I feel like I have to call it cash because we are heavily invested into this one.
Yeah.
But
But
what do
yeah,
you think?
I would say cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're willing to commit to long term, do it. It's something you can do outside of work and it really could replace your income.
Yes. This is not something you do to make a quick buck.
As long as you spend the time to learn how to do it right, you slowly improve over
Yeah.
time, slowly reinvest. You'll get to a point where it can be cash money.
Yeah. So I'm still going to say, even though it is high time, high investment, high effort, I'm still going to say cash.
Yeah.
Maybe we're biased though.
We're probably a little
We're
biased.
probably a little biased. All right. Next, affiliate marketing.
Affiliate marketing. So this is where it kind of can go
It
hand
can
in
go,
hand with
yeah.
content creation, but there are people who do this where you kind of just like have a website that links products. You might make listicles of like the top 10 kitchen gadgets where you just list Amazon products.
Mhm.
And then what you do is you become an Amazon associate and then you get special affiliate links to Amazon products. And anytime someone clicks and adds something to their cart and buys it within like the next 24 hours, you get a commission, a little finder's fee for,
Yeah.
getting them a sale.
So time for this one. Would you say medium? Because you still have to get approved to
I
be an
would,
affiliate, right?
I would call this a high time investment to get started because you need to establish some sort of audience. You can't just start this
Yeah.
and start making money. You have to have like a blog or something that has an audience that you can send to these links.
Right.
You have to build like search engine optimization where people can find you if you're just doing it on a website.
Right.
So there's a whole lot that goes into building it up. But in terms of effort, I would say effort is medium
Yeah.
because it's something you can kind of just do whenever you have free time and you're just kind of writing blog posts or finding
Yeah.
things and recommending them. So I would say it's a medium
I would agree with that.
effort,
Medium effort.
high time investment, medium effort. And then, but in terms of investment, I would say it's low
Low.
because this is something you can just do online, so as long as you have an internet device
Yep.
where you can write and find products and do this, you can do it
Yeah.
for a low investment.
I agree.
And then in terms of profitability, again, all of these a lot of times depend on how long you stick with it for.
Mhm.
If you were to stick with it, I think it can be a nice passive income stream at a point. It's not ever truly passive because you have to put all that time and work to get it built up.
Right.
But once it is, and you have people finding your things on the Google, then, you can
Yeah.
have you can make a couple $100 every month without doing much work.
Yeah.
A couple $1,000 even if you just keep doing it all the time.
Mhm.
So it's a really slow ramp up to do this.
But if you get it to a point, I think it can be a really good moneymaker.
Yeah. So I would say medium to high.
And I'm going to say this one's cash.
Cash?
Yeah.
I think it's cash too. And again, I think what it comes down to is that it's something like I like these ones that you can do at your own pace and on your own like
Yeah, and it's not directly related to the amount of time that you put into it. So like you said, this isn't like it's not
it's
truly passive, but once it's there, you might have a bunch of people buying it and you haven't really done that much extra work, you
yeah,
know?
there's these couple side hustles that the amount of work you put in directly correlates to the money you get. And some of them are where you have the potential to multiply the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you make one YouTube video and you get a million views on it, you know,
Hmm.
it could make a ton of money from one video.
And it can keep making you money because it's once it's out there, it's out there.
Right. So that's why I like these ones where it's like not directly proportionate to the time you put in.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we will call that one cash.
Cash. Okay, so next is e-commerce. And this is where you're selling a product. It slightly differs from the buy and resell because this is something that you've created and are physically selling
Right.
online.
And we are differentiating this from like drop shipping or print on demand type of e-commerce.
Yes, because this is something that you physically have to handle and
Right.
sell.
This is something we have experience with because during COVID, we tried doing a e-commerce side hustle where we would make graphic t-shirts and, you know, do the whole process ourselves in our apartment. And then we would try to sell them online.
Yeah, so this started with like the Cricut and doing like the vinyl tees. And then we ended up going to more of a heat press, but we were physically making the t-shirts. We had to buy the t-shirts, we had to buy all the supplies. We would make them and sell them. And it didn't last long. I will
It did
say
not
that.
last long. So you can probably get a little teaser as to what we think about this one.
Yeah. But this could be anything. I mean, Etsy is another great one. People will, sell products on there. So you have a product to sell. So let's go
Right.
into time.
So time to get started. This one I want to say is high
I agree.
because you have to develop some sort of product as well as figure out the whole system of how you're going to make it.
Yep.
You have to figure out if there's a product market fit for it. You have
Yep.
to develop a website or figure out a platform to sell on and develop all that. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of upfront
Yeah.
time.
That goes into it. This isn't something that you're just going to like start doing overnight or like over the course of a few days. Like this is going to take some time investment to get it going.
Yeah, it took us a couple months to figure out how to do it all and be to the point where it felt comfortable to do it.
And even then, we probably still weren't even ready for when we launched it.
No,
to
we
be
weren't,
honest.
to be honest.
Yeah.
And in terms of effort, I want to call this one medium high because there's all that upfront effort, but then also you have to be making and manufacturing whatever the product is that you are selling.
Yeah. I feel like this one is high
Okay.
because again, like you have to keep the product going. This isn't something that you just kind of do once and it just kind of goes.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing like a digital project,
That's true.
a digital product.
People do
Yes.
things like iPad note planners that you can have digitally or all those types of things.
Yeah. Those are a little bit lower effort. But like with us, it was like we had to make every single t-shirt that we were going to sell. So it was a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Making
And
all
this
those.
one, I mean, you can set up systems and again, outsource things to do that. So there's ways around getting that effort down, but initially you're going to have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to have a really high investment.
And that's the other thing too with the investment piece. And this was where we also struggled was that when we started, we ended up putting a lot of money into it at the start, which was not very smart. Because you can, again, if you start things really like low investment at first, it's just going to take you a while to get like the quality up or to make the process easier. We wanted to make the process easier for ourselves by investing in like the heat press instead of just doing like the Cricut and having to hand pull all the vinyl and things. But then we ended up investing a lot of money.
So yeah, when it comes to cash or trash for e-commerce, I'm going to give this one a trash because we tried it and I did not like it. But I do think for the right person, it can be good.
See, I was going to lean toward cash because I do think that if you, like what you said, if there's I think there's a right person to do it. I think we maybe just were not the right people to do this, but But I also like, I mean, like, yeah, like
The one
I,
part about it that most people don't realize when it comes to e-commerce, starting from scratch, is that you have to market it yourself. And that's the hard part. That's the kicker when it comes to e-commerce. The idea of just being able to have a good product and selling it is great, but there's a whole side of the business of marketing. And if you don't like doing that, that's where it becomes trash for me.
yeah. So I think for you, it was trash. I could see it more as cash because again, I didn't mind the marketing bit too much other than the effort to do it. But, getting creative with marketing is fun for me. So yeah, I just think it's the right person. For the right person, it could be cash.
I think for a side hustle, though, it's trash because there's a lot of time, there's a lot of investment, there's a lot of effort. And I think for profitability, in terms of realistic profitability, it's not going to be very high. So to
You're right.
me,
Yeah.
that is trash for a side hustle.
As a true side hustle, trash.
If you're an inventor and you come up with an amazing new thing like the Scrub Daddy, go on Shark Tank, do your e-commerce, make the money.
Yeah.
But in this case, for a side hustle,
Or if you're a super creative person who makes a great product and it's something that this has potential to be similar to like the content creation and stuff. This has the potential to be a full-time thing if that's what you want, but you have to be the right person for it.
right. So that brings us to our second to last one on the list, and that would be renting out space, kind of like Airbnb.
Yes. This is if you have space to spare.
Spare bedroom,
Yep.
second floor to your house you don't use that you can make nice, make some extra money.
If you get a duplex and you got like another side.
Yeah. So this one, in terms of time investment to get it started, if your house is really nice already, it can be low. But in most cases, you're probably going to have to buy some furniture, spend some time designing the room to be a little bit nicer. So I think this one's probably going to be medium low.
Medium low. Yeah. Like if you have a really nice space and you just have this extra space, you're like, man, you know what? We could like rent this out. Or maybe you're someone who travels a lot and you're like, hey, you know what? I need to make some extra money. I'm not, home for certain months out of the year. Go ahead and rent out the space and that can make you some extra money.
Yeah, I think that would be probably the best case scenario.
Yeah.
In most cases, if you were to get a duplex or something like that, you might have to renovate. So there could be a little bit of high time investment, but I think in most cases it would probably be medium-ish.
I think if you're going to choose to do this as a side hustle, you probably already have the space and therefore it would be low.
Right. And then in terms of effort, I'm going to call this probably low, but I could see it getting to medium if you don't have like a cleaner to clean up after the guests and you have to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it's low, if you have someone that can do that. Does that make sense?
I feel like medium low.
Yeah. And then in terms of investment,
If you already have the space, low investment, right? Because you already have it. So
if you have to buy a rental property to be able to do this, then it's a high investment. So it's kind of a trade-off. But if it's something that you can use to live in and then use this extra income to help either supplement or cover your rent and mortgage, then heck yeah. Then that's kind of a payoff where it becomes a low investment if you make it work. You know what I mean there?
Yeah.
Sounds kind of a tricky. This one's a tricky one.
This one is hard.
It's kind of all in the mushy area.
Yeah.
So, and then in terms of profitability, I mean, if you can get it where you're making a good amount of money. So there's some instances of doing Airbnb where you're booking most of your month out and you're getting, $150 a night, $200 a night. Like you can make a good chunk of change for pretty low effort.
Yep.
So I would call this one maybe high.
I would say too.
And then there's a good chance if you're doing this that it's going to probably cover your mortgage or rent on that property, giving you some good cash flow, hopefully.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this one in terms of cash or trash, especially if you just have space and
that
it's
you
just
don't have to
there.
make
Yeah.
nice and
Like
stuff to
definitely
improve.
cash. Like it's just a great way to just supplement and get that additional income.
I think it's cash with a caveat because I think I've read a lot of like horror stories of like dealing with the people wrecking the place, trashing it, things like that, bad, occupants. So there's kind of that like risky dark side to it.
Well, there's always risk when you involve the public.
Exactly. So that's the
You involve
one.
other people.
I think it's cash if you can make it work and you have the investment to do it. It's cash, but I do think there's quite a fair caveat there
Hmm.
with that cash. So keep that in mind if you're going to do that. Emma, our last side hustle
Last one.
for our list. Thank you so much for making it this long. This is turning out to be our longest episode at the moment. So
If you've made it this far, thank you.
give us a thumbs up so we know. Leave a house emoji in the comments so that we know you're there.
Yep.
And our last one for this podcast is drop shipping / print on demand. Very similar.
Yeah. Again, similar to the e-commerce, but this is a situation where
No inventory.
no inventory. You're selling stuff, but like you don't have to make anything and you don't have to store product or anything like that.
Right. So this one, in terms of time investment, I want to give this one a medium because you have to spend a lot of time researching. You have to figure out a product, for like drop shipping, it's such a time investment to sit and scour the web, find something that could make a good profit margin, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And getting all your like sources for your products figured out and just kind of learning that whole world.
Right. Well, I feel like that too, because you looked into this at one point when it kind of started to become popular. I feel like you researched it a
Yeah,
little
I,
bit.
I got sucked into the YouTube rabbit hole for drop shipping for a little bit there a while back. And it was hard to get unsucked out of that one. I never have tried it.
Yeah. This was one we never tried, but you looked into.
Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of like gray areas with drop shipping and stuff. Like it's perfectly legal to do and everything, but like
Yeah.
the whole like customer service side and quality assurance with drop shipping is kind of sketch in a lot of cases.
I feel like this is one of those things where it got like idolized and idealized.
Yeah, there's a lot of
For what?
YouTube gurus for drop shipping out there that you have to watch out for. Don't buy their courses. It's usually never worth it.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
So time investment, medium. Because again, a lot of research. Effort, I want to call medium as well because you have to constantly be finding new products in most cases, or you got to really figure out you got to do a lot of effort to
You're
get a good
you're still
product.
doing work. You're not doing work, even though you're not creating the product. There's still a lot of effort that goes into it. It's just different effort.
And I want to call it medium effort because it's mostly just sitting on a computer at night, working on it in your free time.
Yeah. And this is one where I feel like another thing that makes it differ from e-commerce is that you don't have to have the skill to make a product. Like, like there's some people that's like, well, I'm not creative. I can't make beautiful acrylic earrings to sell on Etsy, but like
Right.
with print on demand or with
For drop
Yeah.
shipping, you don't really need the skill.
You
I
don't
think
need the
for print
skill.
on demand, you got to make designs for the shirts. They're not just going to be there. So you got to figure out a way to either, like I've seen people go on Fiverr and pay someone to make designs, and then they use those designs to do their print on demand. So that's a way to do it if you don't have the skills. There's ways around it.
Yeah.
But
Might be some skill involved with that.
so there's something there with that. But the nice part with this is the investment side. Other than paying for like a Shopify website or something like that, which is like $30, $9,
This is low
somewhere on
investment.
there. It's a low investment because you don't hold inventory, so you don't have to buy the product ahead of time. You only buy the product once you get sales.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the sweet thing about
This
drop
type of
shipping
thing.
and
Yeah.
print on demand is that you only buy the product once you have a sale.
Yes. You're not buying the product, hoping that someone's gonna buy it. And then you have that risk involved of, well, if people don't buy it, I'm sitting on, I mean, we still have a box of t-shirts and bags of
We
t-shirts
have
and
so many t-shirts.
just sitting around because again, people didn't, buy them all. So we bought that inventory. So you're kind of stuck with it. So the nice thing about this type of, e-commerce where it's drop shipping or the print on demand is that you're not buying that product and that inventory ahead of time. So that risk is low.
Right. So then when it comes to profitability for drop shipping and print on demand, I want to say this one's kind of in that medium high range because it's one of those things that doesn't directly correlate with your time to make money. This is one
Yeah.
where you can scale it up, and a little bit of effort can make a lot of money if you find a product. But again, there's that whole side of it where you have to do the marketing and you have to maybe go online and pay someone to promote your product on, the social medias. So there's a lot of that kind of managing it.
It just feels sketchy to me and I don't know why.
Yeah, there's a lot of like bad tastes in your mouth from certain people on the internet that do this and make it feel sketchy.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But if you find a good product that people
Yeah.
actually like, it's good quality, it's kind of an ethics thing with the drop shipping because a lot of people will find cheap things on like AliExpress or Alibaba and, try to make it seem trendy on social media. And then, it's just a little bit dishonest.
Yes. And that's what seems sketchy to me. So
there is that kind of part of it too. But if you do it right,
yeah.
and a lot of times, like, again, if you go down the content creation route, print on demand is what most people end up doing for their merch, for their, for their brand.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of like thing to it. But I think for a side hustle,
I'm going to say trash only because I just can't get around the like sketchiness of it.
yeah, I think it's trash too. I think it could be cash if you really researched and figured it out, but it's just going to be a lot of time investment and it's probably not going to get super duper far. So I too am going to say that drop shipping is trash.
Alrighty.
So that was our top 10 list of the top 10 side hustles and our opinion of if they were cash
Or trash.
So I hope that helps you a little bit, gives you some inspiration to figure out some ways to make a little bit of extra money on the side.
Yeah, these are obviously not the only side hustles that exist. So if you have a side hustle that you do, or if there's other ones that we missed, please let us know in the comments.
So yeah, and let us know your take on our take for these side hustles. Do you agree with our cash or trash for any of these? Let us know in the comments. Let us know wherever you can find us. And we will be happy to chat with you down there.
Yeah. Interested to see if any of you do any of these or have tried any of these and what your experience has been. I feel like I would love to hear that.
Yeah, if you do any of these, which one's your favorite?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And with that, we want to thank you so much for watching this episode. Leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you got any value out of this episode. It would mean the world to us if you subscribed or followed our podcast wherever you're listening. And we will see you in the next episode.